Hey guys, Abby here. Welcome back to another Destiny 2 video. Today we're going to be taking a look at Veles Labyrinth, the 1280 Lost Sector. I'm going to be doing guides for all the 1280 Lost Sectors on every class, so it doesn't matter what class. There'll be timestamps down below if you want to fast forward through and just look at a specific class or some alternate loadouts. While you watch the path to this Lost Sector, let's take a look at the modifiers for the 1280. We've got the Master Modifier Chaff, which is Disabled Radar, and then for champions, we've got Barrier and Unstoppable. During this Lost Sector, you're going to come across 6 champions. 4 of them are going to be Unstoppable Ogres, and 2 of them are going to be Barrier Knights. You're also going to come across at least 1 Solar Wizard in the boss room and potentially 2 Arc Knights in there as well, but other than that, you don't have to worry about shields as much in this Lost Sector. Alright, up first is going to be the Hunter. Here is my weapon loadout. I use this weapon loadout for every class. We got the 7 Seraph Officer Revolver for the Unstoppable. We've got our 7 Seraph SMG for the Anti-Barrier and for the Arc. We've got Anarchy in our heavy slot to help us do burst damage to the champions and the boss. Our subclass is going to be Bottom Tree Solar for the Golden Gun, and we're using the Celestial Nighthawk as our armor exotic. This is going to help take out the wizard in the boss room and or possibly the boss. For armor mods, you want to make sure you have Anti-Barrier Submachine Gun and Unstoppable Hand Cannon. Since we're using Seraph weapons, we're also going to have Global Reach on here to get those Warmind cells, and then we're also going to use High Energy Fire to get a little more damage when we're charged with light. I would recommend being 1250 without your artifact before attempting the 1280, but the lower power level you are, the more careful you need to be. You might want to pop on some armor mods that are going to give you some damage resistance, like Concussive Dampener, Protective Light, or Warmind's Protection. But you do start with 3 revives, and you'll get a revive for every champion you kill, so keep that in mind. It might make sense to be a little bit more aggressive, even if you know you're going to die, in order to get those champions killed and keep moving along in the Lost Sector, because after 15 minutes all your revives are going to go away. Alright, here is our first champion. You can see all of them have spawned in on the bottom left of your screen. It's going to be a Hive Barrier champion first, so I pop some Anarchy down and wait for him to come around the corner, and then I make sure to have my SMG out. Your kills with Anarchy are also going to pop Warmind cells when you have your SMG out, and then once we bursted that barrier down, we're going to have an Unstoppable around the corner out here. He's not here for the 1250, but for the 1280 he is. So we're going to have our hand cannon hold it to charge up that Unstoppable round, and then we're going to put some Anarchies down and make sure we're behind cover. This is why Anarchy is so good for these solo Lost Sectors, because you can shoot, stick it on them, and then go behind cover and not have to worry so much about taking a lot of damage. However, if you guys don't have Anarchy, I am going to put an alternate loadout towards the end of the video. There'll be timestamps up if you want to check it out. And then going up the stairs, we're going to find another Barrier champion. We're going to give the same method of the Anarchy shots on him. And then you'll notice all these Thrall come across the bridge. You can actually just jump past them if you want, or if you have a Warmind cell, it will kill all of them. I didn't get one that time. The Thrall are also useful for dropping orbs, charging up your super, all that stuff. And then now that we jump across here, we're going to get an Unstoppable Ogre. Gonna go ahead and give him the same treatment. Usually he either dies or I can use a finisher on him. Then we're upon the first shield, which is a Solar Wizard. Once you kill the Solar Wizard, that's going to trigger the rest of the boss room spawn. You're going to get 2 Unstoppable Ogres that are going to come around the corner. Just try and bait them over. And then Unstoppable champions are going to take more damage when they are staggered, so make sure you stagger them, pop a couple Anarchy shots in there, and then get around the corner. If they rush you, just retreat through the cave and you can actually break line of sight with them just by going around the corner. Wait until they're ready to be finished. Now we've got the boss. Sometimes you may need to clear out some ads that are pushing you. That's totally fine. And then try to get an angle on the boss. Sometimes the boss likes to move around behind cover like this, so it can get kind of annoying if you're waiting for him to pop out in order to stick Anarchy. But the boss is probably the easiest part of this Lost Sector, and I will say that this particular Lost Sector is probably one of the easier ones to do on 1280. As you can see, we're only 4 minutes in. I got a little impatient and moved up there, but if you're lower power level, you could definitely stay back behind cover. If you've got your golden gun, you could also use it on the boss as well, but that is it for the hunter. So normally if you have Anarchy, I would just use Anarchy for all characters across all classes, use the same weapon loadout, and use a solar subclass. However, for those of you guys that don't have Anarchy, I'm going to show you two different options. The first is going to be Xeno, and the second is going to be Lament. So we're going to be using Xenophage on our Titan here with a bottom tree solar subclass and the Hollow Fire Heart, which is going to allow our abilities to regen faster, even faster when our super is charged. And then on Titan, you also want to make sure that you have Wrath of Rasputin on because you're going to be creating sunspots a lot and solar splash damage. Xeno is also going to be doing solar splash damage as well. And this is our Titan loadout. So for the Titan, we're going to start here at this first champion. Just make sure when you're in the little tunnels here, you stick to the right-hand side. Now with Xeno, it's going to be a little trickier. You want to try and kill one of the thralls with your grenade so you can get that nice sunspot in the middle. I wasn't able to get that, so I had to be really careful with this barrier champion because it's really hard to break line of sight in this little tunnel. So you have to be quick and you have to be ready to swap to your SMG to take his shield down immediately so that you can stun him and get some more damage. And throughout this Lost Sector, you'll notice me constantly reloading Xeno. I want to make sure that I'm always ready to go with my heavy whenever I need it. So that'll take a little bit more time as well. Now on to the first Unstoppable. Remember with Unstoppable champions, you don't have to worry about their health recharging. They're not like overloads, so you can just kind of pick away at them. You could even try and kill that one without using your heavy if you wanted to. And now we've got this next barrier champion up at the top of the stairs. Be careful with the barrier champions because I've noticed at 1280, they tend to pop up their barrier a lot sooner than you would think. So just be ready with the SMG for that first barrier break. And then after we kill the thrall, we're going to jump over to the other side for this next Unstoppable. And as you can tell, my technique is pretty similar to when I'm using Anarchy. Anarchy is just going to be a little bit safer because you can get behind cover instead of just shooting them point blank. And then whenever possible, try to finish the champions because it's going to save you on ammo. I noticed with Xeno, you tend to run out of ammo a lot more than I do with Anarchy at least. And then for the wizard, I decided just to use hammers. And then after she's killed, I just throw some sunspots all over the place just to get more of the ads cleared out. And now we wait for our two unstoppable guys. So since we're using Xeno, we kind of want to stagger these unstoppables a little bit. We want one of them to possibly move up a little bit closer and the other one to stay behind. So I'm not staggering them at the same time. And so I used a finisher on this guy. He was really close to the second one, and that's why I ended up dying there. But it was alright because we killed one of the champions, so I really don't mind losing a revive or 2 or 3 if it means that I'm going to get a kill. And I wanted to make sure to save some of my Xeno for the boss. Yet again, making sure our Xeno is reloaded and then searching for this little hidey boss. And there he is over on the right side. So we're going to toss a grenade over there. If you need to take out those acolytes, if they're bothering you with their solar, that is one of the modifiers. That solar damage is going to hit a lot harder than you think. So feel free to take him out. But we just took out the boss. And that is it for Titan, showing you guys how to run this Lost Sector. If you don't have Anarchy, which would be my #1 choice, Xeno is a great secondary option. Alright, and finally we are going to be moving on to our Warlock. For the Warlock, I'm going to be using the Lament. As I said before, the Anarchy is my first choice, but Lament is also a good option. You just have to be careful and know that you might die a few times trying to go in for the sword kill. But we're going to be using a Stasis subclass, and here is the armor with the mods on there. So the strategy for using Lament with the Stasis subclass is to use a Glacial Grenade to kind of block your line of sight with the champions. I kind of screwed it up here because I didn't throw my Glacial Nade far enough into the tunnel to get it close enough to hit the champion through the Glacial Nade, but it worked out anyways. This next unstoppable champion is going to be a little bit tricky because you do have a barrier champion that is up the stairs. But I just made a run for it. Get as much damage as you can and know that you're probably going to die. But at that point we had 4 revives, so we were good to go. Like I said, using Lament is going to be a little bit trickier. You could also switch to Well if you wanted a little bit more damage resistance. But I was able to bait him under the stairs so we didn't have to worry about the other champion shooting at us, and now we're on to the next barrier champion. Gets a little hairy with using the sword, but as you can see, we're making our way through in decent time. There goes my sword, targeting whatever the hell it wants. And now we're going to get those 2 unstoppables that you guys have been seeing in the previous playthroughs. With the sword, we just want to get them as separated as possible. So we want to stun one but not the other to kind of get them to separate a little bit. As you can see, this guy came into the corner. Now I probably should have gotten him a little bit closer, but we were able to get out, use the glacial nade as a way to cut off line of sight. And then he gets bored and starts going back. So with the sword, you're going to do a lot more baiting around the corner because we don't want the boss to be able to see us. So now we're just looking for the boss. We want to do as much damage as we can before we die. It's pretty inevitable that we're going to die at this point. Like I said, you could run well if you wanted to, but I feel like depending on your power level, you might just get killed through well anyway. So do as much sword damage to the boss as you can before you only have a couple of revives left, and then you can pop your super like you can see I did here and finish the boss off. And that is it for the Lament run of the 1280 Lost Sector. So to sum it all up for you guys, the 1280 Veles Labyrinth is probably one of the easier 1280 Lost Sectors in my opinion. Just make sure you use the tips that I provided for you in this video. So use cover, don't be afraid to be aggressive when you have revives, separate and bait the unstoppables in the boss room, make sure you have some solar for the wizard, and take it slow if you need to, but know that at 15 minutes all your revives are going to go away. If you have any questions, make sure to put them down in the comments below, and I hope you guys enjoyed this guide. I will see you in the next one. Bye.